Well, hello, Dixie Belle Paint fans. How are you today? It is Melissa from the Top Drawer RVA, coming to you live from the dining room floor, where we get together every Wednesday around this time, sit on the floor and play with some paint. So welcome, nice to see you again. If you are a new watcher coming in for the first time, drop it in the comments below. Let me know where you're watching from. If you are back again to watch me hang out and play with paint, then welcome back. I have a new project, and I thought we could work on it together. All right, perfect. So let's do a little game of catch up and talk about where we were at with this project and where I'm gonna go today. So you've all seen me practicing some dogwood flowers, right? Practicing on a small board, a tray, a cupboard door is a great way to get comfortable with maybe painting something that you're not really comfy with. So you have a lot of options that way on learning and practicing and figuring out how you're going to apply it when you do it on furniture, on a bigger scale piece of furniture, right? Let's see if there's any batteries left in this guy. There is not. I was gonna show you something, but what you need to do is go out into nature, grab what you're going to paint, whether it be a dogwood flower, a cherry blossom, a stick, and start to look at those projects. Look at things close up and get an idea of perspective to see, the shapes, the sizes, the shading, the contouring. If you have an iPad and you want to look at Pinterest, at actual pictures of the plant, sometimes I go to Goodwill and I buy picture books just so I can have references. This, my friends, is the dogwood flower. If you remember a couple weeks ago, I was painting a dogwood flower in a branch on a tray, right? A small wooden tray. That was in practice for this project, which I knew it was coming up fast and I needed to get on board with being happy with my dogwoods. So let's show you what I've done so far today. So this is a pair of end tables, twins, two. FYI, do you know I have twins? I have twin boys, and believe it or not, they are 24 years old. Whoa, there's a age for you. 24 years old, those boys, loving their life, doing their thing, growing and flowing and being on their own. But yes, I have twins as well. So now I'm working on twins on these end tables. And the client wanted them to be a certain way because this is a client custom order, which I don't do a lot of. But if you're going to let me paint crazy things in the size of your dressers and tables, then yeah, give it to me. I'll paint them as long as it's not white or black, right? So this is a set of end tables, which I have cleaned, filled holes, and I talked to you last week about proper prep. They were a little bit shiny. I needed to use slick sticks. Slick stick is my gripper for any slick or shiny surfaces because this wood, this possibly manufactured wood, I mean, it's not a solid wood piece, needed to be protected to put your paint on top. So what color did I end up painting these guys? Anybody guess what this color is, this beautiful blue? I did my silk line. I have a favorite in the silk line. When it comes to one color finishes, silk takes the cake, baby. Takes the cake because it is glowing. It glows. There is something shiny about silk paint that just glows on your piece. Can you see this beautiful kind of sheen that's on here? It's crazy, right? So pretty. So this is Nautical from Dixie Belle from the silk line. This is a built-in top coat and a built-in primer. And this is the color that the client requested for the end tables. Now, she wanted on opposite sides, right? So that when you put this on either side of your bed, flanking your beds, the sides with the dogwood flowers would be on the outside. So obviously that would be on this side, this one would be on this side. And she said, do your thing and bring them down and around the front. So we're gonna work on the around the front today. We're gonna be painting this beautiful finish, which is a branch, dogwood flowers, and tiny leaves, because if you remember my dogwood branch, minimal leaves, mostly just a stick. So we're gonna take this finish and put this around the front and wrap it around. So if you feel like hanging out and being a little Bob Ross with me today, we can do that together. You want to? Cool. We're also gonna work with a little bit of leaf on here too, because I want to do some beautiful Dixie Shine. Have you heard about Dixie Shine? This is a new product, y'all. New fun product. Maybe we'll do that first on this part that's finished because I can get it on here, let it get tacked up, and then come back over and show you. So you've heard of gold leaf on furniture before, right? If I were to cut gold leaf and stick it on here, it's number one, messy, and number two, not very precise. Gold leaf can be a little bit difficult to use, but this is called Dixie Shine. So it comes in a roll, like you see right here, right? This beautiful roll of Dixie Shine. It doesn't look like a lot, but this little piece of paper right here is going to do a ton of work. I've used it on edging, I've used it on corners, I've used it on bird nests when I've painted beautiful bird nests and branches. What I'm going to use this for is a highlight. So anywhere where you're going to put your glue, because you have to use this in conjunction with Stick With Me glue, this is your Dixie Shine glue. Once you put this on your piece, what's going to happen is it's going to tack up. So after about 5 minutes or so, you're going to be able to take this little piece of paper and touch it to your piece. And it's not going to stick where there's no Dixie Shine, right? Dixie Shine isn't going to stick where there's no glue. So you have to use the glue on the pieces. Hello, Patty. How are you today? Let me show you how I use Dixie Shine, because what I'm going to do is get it onto this piece, and then we're going to let it get tacked up, because you usually need about 10 minutes or so. And then when it's sticky, that's when you start sticking it on there and use it. So I'm going to use a throwaway brush. This brush has had some serious love. It's not really doing anything anymore, but it's the perfect size. And after I'm done with my stick with me, I can just chuck it in the bin and I won't need it anymore. Okay, so let's number one talk about how sticky stick with me is. I don't know if you all saw my promo on TikTok yesterday for Dixie Belle TV. Dixie Belle has Dixie Stick With Me that is so flippin' sticky that it never comes off. I had it on my feet and I was walking around and I had like shine stuck to my feet. I had paper stuck to my feet. I was like a walking piece of Velcro. It was ridiculous. So this stuff is sticky. So it's a glue, right? This is modified special glue in here made specifically for the Dixie Shine. So on these beautiful branches, right? I painted these the other day. I just came in today and did a little bit of highlighting. I want to add a little bit of shine. So anywhere where there's like a piece that I want to highlight, let's see if I can bring you in even closer. Dun, dun, dun. We're getting Bob Ross crazy in here today. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to gently just start to add some Stick With Me, maybe around these edges, not a lot. I'm definitely going to do like a little bit of the leaves, a little bit of these little dots, because there's tiny little dots in the middle of these dogwood flowers. So by adding on this glue in tiny little sections, I can add the perfect amount of shine when I add my Stick With Me. So let's do that. Let's add my dots, and then we're going to let this tack up, and I'm going to show you how I apply my Stick With Me in gold onto this piece. So it's not only available in gold, it's also available in silver, and it's available in bronze, which is really pretty, like a coppery color. So I'm just going to gently touch this glue, like you use such a tiny little baby amount of this glue onto my project. I'm just going to highlight some of the leaves. It's almost invisible, but I mean, it's still wet, so you can kind of see where it's going. All this is going to do is allow your flowers to just grab that tiny bit of shine. Should I do any shine on the sticks? I think I should probably add like a touch of shine, just as like a highlight. Thoughts on that? Like maybe just like on the edge, just like a little, like a baby tiny line. You guys are always with me when I'm talking it out. Talking it out amongst yourselves. Because, you know, I talk to myself, but just on Wednesdays I get to hang out with you and chat in person. So I'm just going to add a little bit on there. Just like on the top where the highlight would hit of maybe the sun on the branch. And then we're going to get out the shine and see what kind of magic we can make. Now this isn't going to be a lot, because you can see how little amounts of glue I'm actually putting on here, right? Like tiny little baby amount. So let's see. What we're going to do is wait for that to tack up and get dry a little bit. It takes about 5 minutes. I like it to sit. And then after it's dry up a little bit, you can stick that easy peasy paper on there and get a tack. Because right now if you stick it on, it's not going to come off. This is the part that comes off on the paper, right? And then the gold releases only where you put the glue, right? That's the non-messy part of Dixie Shine. But it takes a few minutes to tack up. So while that's starting to tack up and get dry, let's turn our end table around and talk about what we're going to do today. So we have a drawer. I filled the holes. You can see that I have filled the holes with Dixie Belle's mud and painted right over top of them. So let's add the rest of our tree branch, because she wants them coming up around the front. So I'm going to bring it from the bottom down here on the foot up this way and over. There is going to be a handle in the middle. I don't even have the handle over here. I'm not even worried about it. I'm not going to worry about the handle because it's just going to be an accent. So I have like a little palette down here on the floor where I've added some black. You can use caviar. I just happen to use black sands from the silk paint line because that's what was handy. I have gravel road. I have a little bit of some palmetto, and I have some brown chocolate. So let's just mix a couple of these colors together and start to create a tree branch. So if you know me and if you've painted tree branches before, let's bring this up from, let's say over here. If you've painted tree branches before, I want you to think of them as this, as a finger. Remember we talked about this before? Here's my tree branch for reference. FYI, I brought it in the house. So when you think of a finger, you think of joints, right? So you have a finger, you have joints on a finger. When you have a branch, you have joints on a branch. Nothing is like pure straight. If I went pure straight and then stuck a leaf on the end, it's not going to look real. But if you break up your joints, right, like a finger, and kind of draw a line, stop, draw a line, stop, draw a line, stop, you're going to get a more realistic branch on the look of it, right? I know I've taught this to you before. I'm like a broken record when it comes to talking about tree branches, but there's so much flippin' fun to paint, and everybody loves the artwork, and they're not hard if you just think of it in that way. So I want to bring it up and over. I'm debating whether or not to bring it like directly from the bottom and kind of go over the edge. I feel like I kind of have to, because if I start just here on the edge, it's going to be coming out of nowhere, right? Do you know what I mean? Let me show you. Tree branch, don't fall. Let's move you over. Let me show you exactly what I mean. You can tell me what I think. So see how this bottom of this piece has like a little lip of a leg and then an edge? This tree branch is going to come across the front, obviously. Do I start the tree branch all the way down here where there is no furniture, or do I start it up here on the edge of the furniture? Opinions? Let me know. Should I come up from the edge or the bottom? Edge or bottom? I know David's watching. Tell me, David. You have a good artistic eye. I trust you. I do feel like it might have to come from the bottom. Even though I'd love to start it here, then I feel like it's starting in a naked space. See, David says bottom. See? Thank you, David. I just needed your help. So I'm going to take one of these brushes. This is an artisan brush from Dixie Belle. Did you know they make artist brushes? Check it out. So cute. Wash them, reuse them. They come up really well. This bristles in here are like, they wash so well. You can reuse these for ages. All right, David says go from the bottom. I'm listening to you. You are the boss of me today. So I'm going to take this brush, and I've mixed two browns together. A little bit of the black, a little bit of the chocolate, a little bit of the gravel road, because no tree branch is one color. I'm going to start down here at the bottom. Let's bring my branch up in a fluid motion. Now, remember, it doesn't have to be perfect on the first go. I'm just doing like a layout, right? If I were to sit here and be super detailed and try and be so precise, then what's going to happen is you're going to panic and you're going to make a line that doesn't look right, because you want to think of this as a free-flowing natural tree branch. No free-flowing natural tree branch is straight. None of them are. So be fluid. So here's my finger. Remember, we're going to use like joints. I'm going to stop. I'm going to bring my joint over here. I'm going to stop. I'm going to bring another joint over here and stop. One more here and stop. You can always thicken it up a little bit after you kind of get your layout going. You can't unthick it. Does that make sense? That's not a word. Help me. You can't make it thinner. Thank you. That would be the proper English term, not unthick it. Well, that's what came out of my mouth, so we're going to stick with it. So I can thicken it up as I go along and make it thicker, but I can't make it skinnier. So let's start with this. So there's one branch. When you look at a branch, there's usually more than one. I mean, this is a one single. I want to look at this branch and kind of think like, oh, it's going to come from here. Let's break this branch up a little bit and kind of drop it down. So remember the finger principle. Every branch has like a joint where it stops and changes direction. I don't want a lot of flowers here. Minimal amount. There's going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. Just one branch coming up from the bottom, even though I have more on the sides. Because I have more here, doesn't mean that I have to put more here. It can balance itself out. Let's turn this and do the same thing on the other one, because these are twins. We have twins today, just like me, twins. Okay, so again, mixing up these browns, thinking about coming from the bottom like the other one. I'm going to come up a little bit higher with this one. It doesn't have to be the same. You don't want them to be the same. That would be weird. Tree branches can't be the same. You want stuff to look like natural, right? There's my finger, there's my joint, right? This is where we break it. Shut this drawer and turn my table. Again, mixing a bunch of browns. Stop. Let's break it up again. Stop. Break it up. Stop. Let's make this branch kind of come out this way. Stop and carry on. So are they the same? No. But when you put the petals and the flowers on, which we will get to, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to really see kind of how this is going to work, because dogwood flowers are very minimal when it comes to leaves on a branch. If you've ever looked at a dogwood flower, if I would have charged the stinking iPad to show you, you would see exactly what I mean. That the actual branch is very naked itself. There's not a lot of leaves. It's not covered in leaves. Okay, so now we have the two branches coming up the side. The handle will be here, the blossoms will be here. Right now they're just pure brown. They're just a mix of brown. So now I'm going to show you how I'm going to take these and make them a little bit more realistic. Let's take you down. Taking a little ride, folks. I'm going to shorten my tripod, so it's just going to be a little jiggly joggly for a minute. Hold tight. I want to bring you in close enough so that you can see exactly what I'm doing, because I feel like that's the question I get all the time is like, can you come in closer and see what I'm doing? So now we have our branch, right? And I have my multiple colors of brown on here. I'm going to take a spatula. This just comes in a regular kit that you would buy, say, from maybe Hobby Lobby or something. These little plastic spatulas. You can use a metal one or you can use a knife. I'm going to start to create some shadowing on my tree branch. I'm going to go from the base, because this is where the sun would be, right? The sun is coming down. You always need to pick a focal point when you are working. Where's your sun going to be? Where is the light coming from? So in this case, I'm going to pick that the light is coming from this upper section. So I'm just going to start to drag a little bit of this black paint. This is harder to show because I keep having to turn it around and make sure you guys get all the angles. I'm just dragging up some black paint from the base of my stick, okay? Because that's really all it is a stick. Just drawing a stick. Let's come over here and do the same thing. Dipping into the black on my little spatula and just pulling and creating texture where there really wasn't any texture before, right? And turn this around and I'm going to pull it up from the bottom. So if I'm looking at this one, this is on the other side of the table. I still want the light to be coming above. So I'm only doing this really on the base. Redip and just kind of start to make those shadows happen. Where the sticks kind of come out on their own, you can just gently touch it. And again, doesn't have to be perfect. This is art, people. There's no perfect in art. Okay, so now I've just added a little bit of shadowing to my stick and start to play with that. You're gonna wanna wipe off your spatula so that it's clean for the next time. And you're gonna turn your pieces back around, because I think that my Dixie Shine might be ready to be tacked up enough to stick it on. You guys wanna see how I do my Dixie Shine? Okay, so do you remember we added our Dixie Belle Stick With Me, the glue, to our piece in minimal amounts? I actually can't even really see where I put it. So this is gonna be like, you could feel it, it's tacky, it's sticky. This is gonna be a little exciting experiment to see how this looks. I'm gonna take my piece of gold and I'm just gonna rub it. You can use a brush if you want, but I use such a little tiny amount of glue that I'm just gonna rub it down and see if I can hit all the spots where I put my glue, my Stick With Me. Let me get a little brush and show you what I mean with a brush. So you can use like a harder brush if it helps you push this down, especially on like a curved surface. So now I'm gonna pull this off. Now look, the stuff that came off is where I had the glue. So the only thing that came off, it's so bright. Let's see if I can get that brightness to come down. You should put my face there, but there it goes. I was surprised. So you've got on the back part of your Stick With Me paper, like the lines, it's missing, right? That's where it's gone off. So now up here, anywhere where I put that Stick With Me is where my little gold is going to stay. I'm just accenting my work. And like I said, I don't really remember where I put it. I know I put it on the center of each petal. Eee, so cute. Okay, really coming in close. I want you to see exactly what I am doing. Can you see that shine now? Can you see how it's sparkly? So again, I'm going to come over here, anywhere where that glue was, which is most definitely in the middle of the blossoms. It's gonna stick, and it's just creating the most perfect amount of gold. It's not everywhere, it's just a highlight. We're just highlighting, baby, we're just highlighting. This is the great thing about this new product, is that it's not messy. You're not getting gold leaf all over the place. You're only getting it where you put it. which to me is magic because normally I am a hot mess getting that stick with me everywhere. So this works well. So let's see if I can tip this cabinet, if I can show you the shine. Oh my gosh, I don't think I can tip the cabinet. Can you see how shiny that is? It's hard, I'm sure it's hard to reflect, but when you turn this actual table and the light hits it, there's like a little shimmer over there that wasn't there before. It's so pretty. So you can see a little bit of it here, a little bit of it here. I put it on the center of all the blossoms, and you can feel like if it's still sticky, that means you probably need to add a little bit more. It'll still stick anywhere where you put the glue. So now we have one beautiful side pretty much done. That's the finishing touch. Like we really needed that gold on there to accent. Let's do the other one on the other side so that I can show you one more time. You can use the same piece of paper. You don't need to use a ton of the actual shine, and it's really great. So David's asking if I sealed my piece. I have not, David. This is actually painted on top of silk paint, which means I don't have to top coat it, but I probably will come in with black wax. I'm a big fan of like black wax in the edging to really highlight and show off the hand painting. I feel like wax and hand painting goes together well. So I will be using black wax in the corners and the edges. And then possibly the tops, I might use a little bit of clear coat just to seal the top where people might put their drinks. But other than that, I don't think I will. I think that this will be it. This artwork that we're going to do on the sides with the blooms is actually a lot of Terra paint, which is kind of like a texture. So it has a kind of bit of a texture, and I also sprinkled some, you can see tiny little white, almost like stars. I sprinkled some white paint, kind of splashed it and splattered it because I really wanted a unique look. So let me just quick feel if I missed any. Stick with me. Is that some there? It feels just a touch tacky. So you can just feel that tackiness and go, okay, there's a spot where I missed, where my gold will stick. Got that one. Got that one. That one has a little bit more. David, have you had a chance to use this product yet? It is a lot of fun. This looks really great on the edges of tables and really adds a gorgeous, gorgeous amount of sheen. So look at that. So I can actually keep this piece and reuse it again and again and again until all that gold is gone. So if you had a larger surface that you wanted to do, it's super easy to use these together in multiple sheets to cover a larger section, but so easy to use. All right, let's back you up again, tiny bit, and we will continue our painting process. So now you've got your beautiful dogwood flowers. I've got my accent with gold. Let's come in and continue our aging of the sticks, because we did like a black on the edge. Now I want to do the same thing with a small little palette knife, but I want to do that in a lighter color. Let's open up drop cloth. So I'm going to take some drop cloth out of my paint and just stick it on the lid, okay? That's drop cloth. And I'm going to go the opposite way. So if this was our light before, then we can, David's asking, oh, Patty says she has Dixie Shine Shopper in the copper, but she hasn't used it yet. You should get it out, play with it. It's so much fun, so much fun. Okay, so remember we did like the black on the bottom. Now we're gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna go white on the top, and we're gonna start to create some shadows and play with light. This is what's gonna take your tree branch and make it look a little bit more realistic. We're just adding on some dimension in the top and dragging it down, pulling it, if you will, pulling that color down and creating almost like an older kind of a branch. Like when you look at a branch in real life, the light hits it in different ways, right? Some pieces of it are a little bit lighter than others. This is what's going to make it look like a real branch. We're by far not done yet, but I can continue this process on these end tables. So I'm just going to pull the white over and make this happen. So by dragging that white, creating edges of light where there was none before, and then the blossoms will go this way. All right, so I'm going to dip back into my drop cloth, I do this a lot with the lids. I like to use lids as like a palette. And again, remember we did the black from the bottom, so I'm going to do the white from the top. I'm going to have to turn my palette knife around though. I can't get in this way and start to pull. So by pulling, you're creating like little tiny striations in your branch. And remember, I did the same thing up here. This is all going to get covered. We're not done yet. It's all going to get covered with blossoms. I'm going to continue this process across the front. So it's almost like you're making your branch look rounded, if that makes sense, because it's not staying flat and brown. You're giving it some oomph, just a little bit of oomph. And you can go straight with your palette knife. You don't have to drag it. Like when I get down to the bottom, I like to actually just kind of use the edge and touch it on there. And if you have a dogwood tree, you know that they're actually almost done flowering. They're at the end of their cycle. They only flower for a few short weeks in the spring, and then that's it. Okay, so now I'm going to take my palette knife and I'm just going to wipe it off. And I'm going to go back in. I'm going to grab a smaller brush. Let's see what brush I have. From here, I'm going to take a little bit of some green in the palmetto or the collard greens, and I'm just going to kind of like start to create a little bit of lines because I don't want it to be so pure in blue, if that makes sense. So be careful not to mix up your colors too much. You don't want to get too much of that white moving around. Like, it looks nice the way it is. I'm just kind of defining the branches in some spots. Same with goes over here. And that is where I'm going to stop. Now, what you need to do if you're painting things like this is you kind of need to stop and regroup. You want to make sure that this looks like this. You don't want them to be too different, if that makes sense. So yes, there's flowers up here, but this branch pretty much looks the same as this branch now. They're very, very similar. Plus, once I go in, when this dries, and add my Dixie Shine, it's going to look almost exactly the same. I really want you guys to see the shine. I don't think you can see it. I'm really going to have to tilt you here. Let's see if I can catch a shine of the edge. Are you able to see a little bit more of that shine, that sparkle, that shimmer that's right up here? It's a really great way to add just such a pretty little sparkle. Can you see that sparkle now? It's so hard to see with the light because I have a big light on so that y'all can see exactly what it is that I'm painting. And it's hard for me to explain, but it is there. Trust me. Trust me. All right. So let's see. Joining a bit late, that's okay. I'm usually late. All right, so now see these flowers? This is a combination. We're going to open up some paint on the floor over here, and we are going to make some magic happen. I have my favorite Terra Clay paint in Pistachio on the ground. Again, Terra Clay paint in Moonbeam on the ground. I'm also going to open up a tiny little bit of really heavy duty used metallics in Rosé because I need a little bit of pink, right? Just a touch of pink. If you look at a dogwood flower, they have like pink on the edges. Not a lot. I actually probably could just use the lid. And of course my drop cloth. So I'm going to take those colors and we're going to start to create some blossoms. There will not be blossoms on this side. If I decide to do one, it would just be one here on the corner. But I don't want the blossoms to be focal point here. If you look at this piece, there's a lot of stick before the blossoms. Dogwoods tend to have blossoms on the end of the branch, and that is it. Okay? So let's see. I'm going to start with a wet Terra. Okay? I'm going to dip my paint in a bit of water and start to make almost like a little bit of a slurry. This is my trick to laying out blossoms, okay? Because I don't want to come right in with the hot stuff. If I come right in with like a huge glob of Terra, I'm stuck leaving that blossom where I put it, right? But if I gently start to lay out like where I think the blossoms will be, what will happen is I'm going to be able to plan. So I'm just going to do a gentle outline of where these blossoms would be. Dogwood blossoms have 4 petals. Sometimes they're a little bit sideways like this. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do one more. Where should I do it? Here. Because I don't want it to be too even. So now you can kind of see the layout of the flowers. Let's do the same thing over here. I'm going to start here at the end. This is just my rough outlay. Remember, there's one. There'll obviously be one over here. 2. Let's do like a little sideways one here. 3. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. I don't want the same amount on either side, if that makes sense. I'll do a petal here. Oh, dogs are barking outside. And maybe one more blossom. Should I do one more like off the tree, or should I do it? Maybe I'll do one up here just to kind of bring this around. Let's see how it looks up here. Okay, so now my kind of really lightly sketched in flowers is going to give me a look, right? I can look at this and make sure things are balanced, make sure it's looking great. I'm obviously going to be doing the paint splatters over here, the same as I did on the sides. And we can come in and start to paint these blossoms. So this is a combination of drop cloth, Terra clay paint in Moonbeam, a little bit of pistachio mixed in. I touched those edges with rosé, and we're just going to kind of keep working at them until we get them exactly where we want them. So let's bring you in a tiny bit closer. Keep moving you around today. It's a move around kind of a day. Dun, dun, dun. Now you can see even closer. So now that I know my layout of my flowers, I want to take the lid of my Terra clay paint. FYI, I've painted almost entire projects just using the lid of my Terra clay paint because the lid holds that nice, chunky, really great paint that I like. If you know dogwoods, you know that they have like almost like a 4-leaf clover shape to them, right? At the top of them, they start to do almost like a divot. They have a small divot which has the touch of pink, and then the centers of them have that really beautiful kind of bright pistachio. They're almost like a heart shape, but not as precise as a heart shape. So I'm going to start to thicken my flowers now. We're going to start to build up your flowers. And FYI, if you haven't tried painting flowers yet, get at it. You need to put them on something. Every single thing I paint flowers on sells so fast at my vendor booth space. I sell my projects here at the Lazy Daisy in Short Pump, Virginia, and I cannot tell you how fast anything that's hand painted with flowers goes. Super quick, super fast. So I think everybody should try it because it's fluid, it's fun, there's no rules in painting, and I think that they are gorgeous no matter what your skill level. Here comes my puppy dog. She's going to come in the shot, and there's nowhere for her to go. I've got paint all over the floor. Where do you think you're going to go, Stella? This way? I better move the tree branch because goodness knows if this tree branch falls and scares you, you're going to be very upset. Let me move this paint lid. Hold on, dear horses. Okay, here, Stella. Here. Lay here. You guys want to see my puppy dog? She likes to be the star of every show. This is Stella, one of my boxers. Hi, beauty. What are you doing? You being a good girl? I know. Can we not have face kisses today on camera? She has terrible breath. I'm going to tell you right now. Her breath is atrocious. All right, lay down and relax if that's what you're going to do, puppy dog. Let's continue painting our beautiful flowers over here and ignore the little patter of puppy feet on the floor because Mommy didn't shut the door. Surprise. Usually they don't come in, but if I'm sitting on the floor, I'm fair game. I mean, you can't have a dog sit on the floor and expect them to respect your boundaries. They're going to come in. They're going to come in and give you all the love, which I love. That's okay. So let's add these little blooms in. I'm going to add one petal down here and one beautiful flower up here. So I'm just using this Terra clay paint to build texture and build petals and start to create some depth. Remember, we're painting this gorgeous scene that I have on the side. I'm just bringing it up to the front and we will go from there. So that is just Moonbeam, which is the white. So now I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to go in the middles, I think. I'm going to take a little bit of that pistachio and put it on a lid, and I'm going to mix a little bit of the Moonbeam in with it. And what that's going to do is just give me a little bit more of a lighter green color for the center. Let's build up the shading that goes into the center of these flowers. It's just that little bit of yellow. Pistachio has a wonderful green tone to it. This is also going to help me bring kind of like the striations that come up between the petals to the top. Beautiful, beautiful. Now this is basic, right? They're still looking pretty basic. To get to this level, we have a lot of shading and moving to do. So now I'm going to take a skinnier brush and I'm going to mix in a little bit of the browns that I used on the tree branch to create a color that I can use to keep building on my flowers. How are we doing? Are we hanging in? You feeling a little Bob Ross? A little Bob Rossish? So this is going to create some of this little bit of texture to start to add some depth for when I'm building up my layers of flowers. I sat on the floor the other day and did this for like probably a good hour, painting blossoms on the side, and then I came back later and just continued. Just continued, because you kind of can't leave them alone once you start. They're really pretty and they're a lot of fun to play with. So I'm just building up some darker tones on the petals. So now I'm going to clean this brush and I'm going to go back to my moonbeam, just straight up moonbeam. So now I'm going to actually start to build my leaves, my petals, with a bit more definition. I'm going to make sure those edges are filled in, making sure that the shape is complete, and actually kind of getting a little bit thicker with my paint. What this is going to do is just give me some texture where there really wasn't any before. And really define those leaves, those petals, because they have that little, almost like a heart on the ends. I'll do one petal down here, just one. Are you sleeping yet? Am I putting you to sleep? You get a little quiet hand painting. So this is all I'm going to do for the rest of the day, is just sit here and continue. If you'd like me to stay on, I can a little bit longer, but I don't want to bore you to death. I want you to have fun and learn something. And send me those pictures. It's my favorite when you guys send me pictures and say, hey, look, you told me I could paint this, and I did. And it turned out fabulous. That turns out to be like my favorite thing. I love to get messages from my friends here on the Dixie Belle Paint page telling me that I inspired them. It's the best part of being a brand ambassador. There. So now we have started to build up these petals. Let's move in to a little bit of that pink. Let's take a little bit of that rosé and just start to touch the ends of my blossoms. Let's start to bring some pink into these petals. This gorgeous pink is going to get mixed in with the moonbeam, but it's just going to give a little bit more shine where there really wasn't any shine before. I need to get an actual palette to paint on. I have a bad habit of using my lids for my paint cans, and then I'm like frustrated when all my colors are mashed together. But it happens. It's the way I roll. I'm kind of a messy gal. But I do need to buy myself a palette of sorts. It would make my life a little bit easier. Either that or just start to hit up the dollar store for some like plates, some actual plates to paint on. Okay, so now we have pink. So let's stop for a minute and look back at what we've done over here. Because you need to reference what you've already, oh, this is in the way. What you've already been painting. So if you look at these flowers, you see a little bit more green. I'm gonna have to start to come in here and add some edges to my petals and a little bit more green in the middle. Okay, so that means I'm gonna go back into kind of that brown tone, because you can see it up here and you kind of came in around the edges and created some definition between my petals. I need to do that down here. So let's go back to the front and start to add some definition to my petals. So I need to add a little bit more brown from my trees, my tree branch, mix it in with the drop cloth. Let's start to add those definitions to my petals. so that they separate. Because right now they're looking a little like white blobs, and I don't want that. I want to separate those before I add in the centers, which are like the stamen of the plant has these really great pokey little, what do you call them? They're almost like dots in the middle. They're quite fun actually to paint. Okay, now I'm going to come around. Look at what I did on this side. I did dots of green, and then I worked on the tiny little bits of the actual green leaves. So let's add the green leaves in first. I'm going to go back to my pistachio because it's a bright green, it really is. And I'm going to think about where, if this was a branch, where the leaves would be coming out of. Well, they would be coming kind of out of here and down here. And then definitely over here. Maybe even a little bit here. So now I've got the green, which is going to come up the same over here. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And that is good enough for me. So now let's do the dots on the middle of flowers, then I'll let you go. I'm going to go directly into the pistachio for this and do dots in green. This is going to be my base. After I'm done the green, what I'm going to do is come back in with the darker brown and touch the center. But this is pretty much a basic dogwood flower painted in a little bit of Terra, some Dixie Belle chalk mineral paint. It's going to be adorable. I think that the client is really going to like these tables because this is exactly what she ordered. There's nothing like a custom table to make your day. What do we think? Do you like it? Pretty cute, right? So remember, you can use that Dixie Shine to come in here and just touch all those edges and create the gold where there really wasn't any gold before. I'm building dimension and depth. I'll probably get in here and add some black wax to the corners. And then I'm going to have to drill new holes for the hardware. And now my other puppy dog came in here to say hello and give us some love. This is Luna. Luna Petunia. She's getting kind of old, aren't you, big girl? Aren't you? I know. My sweet baby. What would I do without you, huh? She has even worse breath than the other one. So that's it, friends. I hope you had fun hanging out with me. I know. I stopped petting you for 2 seconds and she says, hurry up, Mom. Pet me some more. Right?